Well, first of all, my thanks to your executive director, Katie Spicer, for this invitation to speak to you, members of the English Folk Dance and Song Society. Along the way, I'll do a few of my poems, which bear some relationship to the broad folk tradition, Caribbean and British, in the wide sense of song, dance, nursery rhymes, work songs, fairy tales, weather lore. Somewhere I remember reading that the quickest way to the language of a people is through their food and folk songs. We say we speak no Spanish, yet we know chorizo, paella, and no doubt la cucaracha. We say we speak no Jamaican Creole, yet we know jerk chicken and day-o, day the light, me want go home. No doubt having heard Harry Belafonte's version, which reached number 5 on the Billboard charts back in 1957, long before any of us in this room was born. Jerk, they say, comes from the Spanish jerky, charqui, meaning dried or jerk meat, charqui. Charqui becoming in English jerky, but going even further back to the Nahuatl speaking Aztecs, even the word barcao, giving you the English word barbecue, barcao, the wooden frame on which the Indians smoked their meat. The Indians who discovered Columbus. And in the Caribbean folk song, Tallyman, come Mr. Tallyman, come tally me banana. The tallyman, of course, refers to the man counting or tallying the bananas. After working all night, as you know, the dockers are glad that their shift is over. They want to get home. Day is dawning. Come, Mr. Tallyman, come, tally me banana, day that light, and they want to go home. Work songs like that may remind you of your own sea shanties. For Caribbean culture is a blend of traditions, Amerindian, European, African, East Indian, Chinese, though the educational system in the British colonies at the time would have been predictably British. Growing up in what was then British Guyana, in my school days, when we got to sixth form, our A-level exams were based on Chaucer's prologue, Shakespeare, the Romantics. As a Roman Catholic, I went to secondary schools run by Jesuits. My primary school had a nun, Sister Ursula, for headmistress. We also had teachers who were, pardon the expression, laymen and laywomen. And from both, with the help of the cane, we memorized English idioms from a blue book with the medical title, First Aid in English. I didn't know exactly where Newcastle was, but I knew you shouldn't take coals there. I didn't know exactly where Coventry was. I knew that wasn't the place to be sent to. And how could I forget Polly and her addiction to putting the kettle on? Since living in England, I've developed a closer relationship with the kettle. And it never fails to impress me how at every crisis point in an English soap opera, someone asks the obvious and predictable and inevitable, should I put the kettle on, love? Should I do a brew? I'll do a poem called Alternative Anthem. Put the kettle on, put the kettle on. It is the British answer to Armageddon. Never mind taxes rise, Never mind trains are late. One thing you can be sure of, and that's the kettle, mate. It's not whether you lose, it's not whether you win, it's whether or not you've plugged the kettle in. May the kettle ever hiss. May the kettle ever steam. It is the engine that drives our nation's dream. Long live the kettle that rules over us. May it be line scale free, and may it never rust. Join me line by line. Let me hear you. Sing it on the beaches. Sing it from the housetops. The sun may set on empire, but the kettle never stops. Oh, thank you for that. Now, that call and response, you could say, I've gone right back to my Catholic roots. It's true, as a teenager, I did flirt with the idea of becoming a celibate priest. But call and response, or if you insist, antiphonal, is very much part of folk song traditions around the world, as in gospel music, for example, where the solo preacher stirs the congregation into collective alleluias and amens, or in work songs where the solo leader mobilizes a group into collective labor. This poem is called Washing Up Day, from a children's book. Clothes in a tub, rub, rub, rub. Clothes in a tub, rub, rub, rub. Hand in soapy water, ho. Let me hear you, people. Hand in soapy water, ho. Hand in soapy water, ho. Clothes in a tub, rub 'em, squeeze 'em. Clothes in a tub, rub 'em, wring 'em. Hand in soapy water, ho. Hand in soapy water, ho. Clothes in a tub, come nice and clean, but I'm saving me money for washing machine. That was from a collection, No Hickory, No Dickory, No Dock, a collection of nursery rhymes co-written with my wife, the poet Grace Nichols, who also shares a Guyana childhood. And we thought we'd bring our own spin to those well-known English nursery rhymes, which were as much part of our childhood as the Creole chants and the ring games we played in the schoolyard. The book got its name from the poem I wrote, In the Voice of the Mouse, from that traditional English nursery rhyme. You could hickory me, you could dickory me, or lock me in a dock. I didn't run up no clock. Was me who ran under your bed. Was me who bit into your bread. Was me who nibbled your cheese. But please, please, I didn't run up no clock. No hickory, no dickory, no dock. And of course, in the late 70s, Boney M made that ring game, Brown Girl in the Ring, a hit based on a Caribbean ring game. Skip across the ocean, the girl in the middle skips around the circle, wheel and turn your partner, stand and kiss your partner, etc. So that was a traditional ring game which Caribbean children grew up playing as a game. Two traditional dances which have become part of the Caribbean folk tradition are the quadrille and, of course, the limbo. The quadrille was brought by British soldiers from France to England after the Napoleonic Wars. Soon, the quadrille was being danced by plantation owners. And when they were short of partners, they would ask the house slaves to join in. Only a matter of time, and the house slaves taught the field slaves the quadrille, and with their Africanized version of a European dance, parodying the owners of the big house, down to masquerading in frills and finery. Limbo dancing, of course, has stereotype associations: tourist entertainment, sunny beaches, a glass of Malibu. But it may surprise you that the limbo, according to legend, was born in the slave ships. The cramped conditions below deck becoming for the slaves, that dance, a way of limbering up, so to speak, and keeping fit, survival. The Barbadian poet Kamau Braffit orchestrates this origin in the following extract. Drum, stick, knock, and the darkness is hiding me. Knees spread wide, and the water is over me. Long dark deck, and the water surrounding me. Limbo, limbo like me. For the Guyanese visionary novelist Wilson Harris, the limbo dancer is also a dismembered spider god, somewhat like the Anansi figure, a human gateway. So for me, the dance under that symbolic deck and with the fire, the pole becomes resonant with the limbo of the Roman Catholicism, a human gateway in the form of the limbo dancer. I explore that connection in a collection called Limbo Dancer in Dark Glasses. When you see the rainbow, you know, God know, we doing. One big smile across the sky. God got style. The man got style. When rain cloud pass and the rainbow make a show, is God doing limbo? Is God doing limbo? But sometimes, you know, when I see the rainbow so full of glow and curving like she bearing child, I just want to know if God ain't a woman. If that is so, the woman got style. Man, she got style. As part of HMV's musical retailer campaign, a number of artists were asked to name the lyric or verse that was their greatest inspiration. And it will please you, as members of the English Folk Dance and Song Society, to know that in 2008, the legendary Bob Dylan chose Robert Burns' A Red, Red Rose. Burns, as you know, famously adapted traditional songs, putting his own words to Scottish folk tunes, which he collected with a passion. The Scottish folk singer Eddie Reader, who made an album of Burns' songs, recalls that on rediscovering Burns, she comes to realize this is a vein of emotional gold, yet unmined. Nursery rhymes and weather lore, another rich vein of the folk tradition which can be explored even in the teaching of science. Rhymes from weather lore have in fact been proved to have their own scientific logic. Take the popular, red sky at night, shepherd's delight, red sky at morning, shepherd's warning. According to weather experts, it is meteorologically true that deep red sunsets indicate dry weather and high pressure. Here's another. When the wind is out of the east, it's neither good for man nor beast. Again, according to weather experts, the biting easterlies from Eastern Europe, not to mention the Siberian winds, would in fact point to harsh weather, which the farmers knew for hundreds of years, just as they knew come early spring to watch for the tree that will be the first to put out shoots. If the ash before the oak, then there'll be a regular soak. But if the oak before the ash, then there'll only be a splash. I wasn't good in science at school. I was allergic to litmus paper and Bunsen burners. It took me 3 times to pass maths. And the reason I persevered was because our teachers in those days always stressed that you need English and you need maths. You must pass them if you hope to get by in life. In those days, there was a distinct divide between arts and sciences. When we got to A level, the choice was clear-cut, either or, arts or sciences. I did French, Latin, English, never dreaming I'll one day write a book inspired by maths and science. I called the science collection Hello H2O. And thanks to a nursery rhyme from the folk tradition, I found a way into the subject of transplanting organs. You know the rhyme, of course. Who killed Cock Sparrow? I said, who killed Cock Robin? I said the sparrow. With my bow and arrow I killed Cock Robin. Who saw him die? I said the fly. With my little eye I saw him die. So on the question of organ transplant, just as how you were encouraging young people, and we'll be seeing their presentations after lunch, to bring their own twist, I brought my own twist to that nursery rhyme in dealing with that scientific subject. Who'll save dying man? Who'll save dying man? I said the baboon. Transplant my bone marrow. He'll wake tomorrow. Who'll save dying man? I said the chimpanzee. He's welcome to my brain. Deep down, we're the same. Who'll save dying man? I said the pig. I'll give him my liver. May he live forever. Who'll save dying man? I said the sheep. Let him have my kidney, and that's for free. Who'll save dying man? I said the rat. My retina would do to make his vision new. Who'll save dying man? I said the squid. He can have our nerve cells. Sea folk, wish him well. Who'll save dying man? I said the physician. I'll save him with my skills. Though dying man once killed. Thanks for the offer, said dying man. What I'd like to request, a dodo for a donor. And the animals fell a-whispering silently. Oh, dying man has lost his memory. In that same book, I also have an extract that says, Little Bo Peep has lost her cloned sheep, but she isn't the least bit bothered. So she leaves them alone, knowing they'll come home, bringing each other's chromosomes. Of course, that Cock Robin rhyme is believed to reflect Robin Hood and also perhaps the Norse myth, Balder the Beautiful. In his essay, Myth and Education, Ted Hughes passionately speaks of myth as consolidating the inner imagination for dealing with the outer world. And in The Cry for Myth, the therapist Rolla May warns, language abandons myth at the price of the loss of human warmth, color, intimate meaning, values, things that give personal meaning to life. No need for me to remind you that your own founder, Cecil Sharp, was a vigorous champion of folk songs in the classroom. Should we be asking, is the educational system missing a trick? But the folk tradition, in the manner of the trickster, has its foxy ways of survival. Despite Cromwell's puritanical repression, your own British ballads have survived. Despite the banning of the African drum in Trinidad in the late 19th century by British colonial authorities, the drum reincarnated itself in multiple manifestations: percussive bamboo, bottle and spoon, dustbins, pots, pans, anything the emancipated could lay their hands on, until famously reincarnating from goat skin to steel skin in the form of the steel drum or the steel pan, improvised out of old oil drums, 55-gallon oil drums, left abandoned in post-war times. The steel drum, now part of Carnival and, of course, Calypso. It is known that the ballads sold at markets and fairgrounds of the 18th and 19th century Britain often told topical stories, scandals at the time, and were seen as newspapers for the poor. Calypso, with its saucy and satirical edge, has also been called the people's newspaper. Through wonderful creative initiatives like your full English project, all of you gathered in this room today have a beautiful opportunity to offer the young a soul link to their oral heritage. Long may you continue to be the deliverers of the people's newspaper. I mentioned fairy tales, and I should give the last word to a fairy tale. Einstein was asked by a mother of a teenager, "How can I make this lad bright?" Einstein said, "Read fairy tales." "How can I make him brighter?" Einstein said, "Read more fairy tales." I was inspired by those fairy tale archetypes to write a book called Goldilocks on CCTV, illustrated by a wonderful Japanese artist, Satoshi Kitamura. She's seen on CCTV vandalizing those chairs. And I'll give the last word to the Ugly Sisters. We have been seduced by the cosmetic and sanitized versions, Walt Disney, for example, where when you think of the Ugly Sisters in a pantomime, they make up two actresses to look hideous, put on noses and warts. They were, in fact, beautiful. The original Grimm fairy tale says, fair of face, foul of nature, which is much more complex and interesting, that beyond the attractive exterior, there is that meanness of spirit. The devil, a powerful figure, I might not have time to do any from the voice of the devil, a very powerful figure, has had a bad press. That's why the Irish proverb says, God is good, but the devil isn't bad either. My two daughters took me along to the Odeon last week to see the Angeline Jolie movie, Maleficent, and I was interested that she had horns, a typical icon symbol identified with the devil, but it has its alternative side of goodness, the horned goddess of the crescent moon, the horn of the cornucopia, the fullness, even the trident you wave on Halloween night, 3 in 1, the Trinity, the trident of Lord Shiva, the trident of Cernunnos, the Celtic god of agriculture, Lucifer, the other name for the devil, bearer of light, Daemon, that passion that will inspire you as members of this society. You are following your daemon, that duende, like Lorca, who was inspired by folk songs the way Burns was inspired. I said I'll give the last word to the ugly sisters, and this poem is called Did You Say Two Ugly Sisters? Drop dead gorgeous. Don't apply to us. Do we look bothered? Do we look fussed? We won't be face down in no makeup kit. We give the thumbs up to hair in the armpit. We won't be face down in no makeup kit. Fluttering eyelashes just ain't our style. Our Barbie dolls done made it to the rubbish pile. Our smiles are never rehearsed. We don't keep our hearts in a sequin purse. No, we give fake the cold shoulder. Beauty, we say, is in the air of the beholder. Never mind the eye. We enchant the air. From our ugly mouths come song, come prayer. I wish you the very best in this powerful initiative, as I said before, of providing the young with a soul link to their oral heritage. And I congratulate you for being the deliverers of the people's newspaper. Thank you very much.